Planting a tree is a simple act that has many positive outcomes. Trees are beautiful, provide shade, buffer wind, create homes for wildlife, store carbon, and are a joy to watch grow. A well-planted tree will thrive for generations compared to a hastily planted tree that will struggle and grow poorly. Taking the time to do it right makes sense when the investment will pay off for years to come. The tools needed to plant a tree are basic. If the soil is soft, all you need is a good shovel and wheelbarrow. If the ground is rocky, a pickaxe or pry bar will come in handy. Rakes help with cleanup, and we like to use tarps to keep things clean and speed up this process. Compost or well-rotted manure is essential in all but the best soils. It adds organic matter, nutrients, and helps hold moisture. A good mulch is also important. It holds in valuable moisture and stops weeds from growing. Wood chips and bark mulch are two readily available materials, and unlike straw and hay, they won't attract rodents. Planting is stressful for all trees. If the trees bear root, as much as 80% of the root hairs may have been lost when it was dug from the nursery bed. If it is a potted tree, the plant may be root bound and need to have the roots teased apart or pruned, causing stress. Watering your new tree is necessary, ensuring that the tree will recover as quickly as possible without permanent damage. Early spring, as soon as the ground is thawed, is an ideal time to plant. The temperature is cool, the soil is moist, and most importantly, deciduous plants have yet to produce tender new leaves that demand a constant source of water. Transplanting later in the year may cause damage to new leaves and can stunt overall growth. Before planting, it is vital to assess the conditions of your site. Is it windy or sheltered, sunny or shady, wet or dry? Different species of trees tolerate different conditions, and a plant that is appropriately matched to its site has a much greater chance of success. The site we have picked today is well drained, partially shady, and quite sheltered, conditions that are acceptable for this white ash. Once you have picked the site and decided on an appropriate species, place the tree and look for power lines or any other potential obstructions. Think about what the tree will look like in 30 or 40 years, and remember that wild trees are designed to grow in forests and benefit from growing in community with other plants. They still need their own space. A good rule of thumb is to leave at least 30 feet between deciduous trees and 20 feet between coniferous trees. The next step is to set up your planting site. Over the years, we have discovered that taking the time to get yourself organized is important and speeds up the whole process. We like to use tarps, and a nifty trick to stop your tarp from blowing away is to use your shovel to tack the corners of the tarp into the ground. Use the placed tree as a helpful guide for digging the right-sized hole. The bigger the better, but as a rule we like to make the diameter of the hole twice as large as the root ball. This is important because, like the branches of a tree, roots also need space to grow. Planting in a hole that is too small will make it difficult for the roots to get established and will greatly stunt growth. Once you've cut a complete circle, set the tree aside. A useful tip we've discovered over the years is to remove just a thin layer of sod, leaving as much of the soil behind as possible. Thick sods are heavy, hard to break up, and end up taking the best soil with them. Drive your shovel into the ground at a 90-degree angle, about 2 inches deep, and then lower the handle of the shovel, sliding the head under the sod. Lift and loosen. Do this until the sod is free. Cut it into smaller pieces and remove. The topsoil directly beneath the sod is in general the soil with the most nutrients and best texture. As you dig, set this soil aside on the tarp. Depending on your site, you will eventually encounter shale or subsoil that is rocky and has less organic matter. Place this into a second pile or directly into a wheelbarrow. Make sure the sides of the hole are vertical. This helps lateral roots grow outward so that they avoid circling within the hole, which may cause the roots to literally strangle the tree as it gets older. The depth of the hole is determined by the size of the root ball and the growth patterns of the particular tree. Trees that produce a taproot, including most nut trees, need deeper holes. In this example, our white ash has relatively shallow roots, and the excavated hole is approximately 12 inches deep, with a further 6 inches of loosened soil at the bottom. If the soil is rocky, sandy, or clayey, increase the depth to better establish the tree. The next step is to prepare the hole for planting. Add compost and mix it in with the loose soil at the bottom of the hole. Remove the tree from its wrappings and quickly place it in the hole to keep the roots from drying out. Like this white ash grown in our native tree nursery, your tree should have lots of small root hairs. At this time, take a moment to inspect the tree. If the stem is bent or twisted, adjust the tree in the hole so that the bend is pointing north. New growth will develop towards the sun in the south, causing the stem to straighten over time. Make sure the tree is set at the correct level. If the tree is planted too deep, the stem and bark may be covered with dirt and begin to rot. If it is planted too high, roots will be exposed. Examine the trunk to see where the roots meet stem. There will usually be a distinct color change in the bark that helps guide to the proper planting depth. Finally, make sure the stem is straight up and down and not leaning, once again accounting for any bends and twists. Using the topsoil you have set aside, begin to fill in the hole, adding more compost as you go. Remove rocks and break up clumps of soil. Water the tree thoroughly. Continue to backfill. Use the subsoil mixed with more compost to top up the hole if necessary. Remove rocks and clay, which will prevent water from penetrating the soil. The soil covering the roots should be level with the surrounding ground. Tamp the soil down with your hands to secure the plant. If you do use your foot, don't put your full weight on the soil. Gently press. Water will have a hard time penetrating compacted soil. Before mulching, we like to put a thick layer of newspaper down. The newspapers help keep the moisture in and are a great weed barrier. We have tried nearly every version of landscaping fabric out there, and none perform as well as newspaper. Make sure to soak the paper in a big bucket of water. This stops the paper from blowing around and wicking moisture away from the soil. Leave a small gap near the stem to allow for watering. Cover the newspaper with mulch, making a big donut. If the mulch is touching the bark, it can eventually cause the trunk to rot. Water your tree every day for the first week, every second day the second week, and once a week for the rest of the summer. Follow these steps and your new tree should thrive. Check out our website, www.macphailwoods.org, for more information.